it's so nice to see all of you, particularly, I just have to say, because you are my foundation. You're the foundation of this group. You've been coming for years now. And, well, thank you. But I couldn't, yeah.
We've been having lots of them saying, well done, guys.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if the others can hear that, but they're just saying all kinds of nice things about me and our group. And the thing is, I couldn't do it without you. That's the thing. We're in this together. We're the light leaders, right? And we're going to go forth and bring love and hope to others. That's why we're here. So I don't really have to go through my spiel of being open-minded and open hearts, because that's who you are at your core. So for that I appreciate. So you're like my sisters, brothers, and I appreciate it. I did want to go and say a couple of things that I don't want to forget. One, because you're here, we have a participation gift each month, and we're going to draw it. And Helma has graciously agreed to start providing this little participation gift, which really is wonderful for me, because it just takes one thing off my plate. And I'm just so thankful for that. So I hope you enjoy it. I feel like that she's bringing this gift to you from her heart. So what I hope you feel okay. Let Mike. You're the drawer. Come on. And the last two numbers, I think, Mike, are three numbers on there.
Three.
There you go. But we want you to keep coming, even though. But Helma has won several times too. So we hope everyone gets a chance at winning this. And again, thank you for the desserts. Y'all get up and walk around and get some more, and be sure and take some with you. Mike and I cannot take it with us. Although I would eat it all. Anyway, I did announce our new board members. Tom Leach is not going to be with us as a board member. His health has declined, so keep him in your prayers. He spoke once this year, and another time he told his story, our first year of operation. So please keep Tom in your prayers. Janelle is taking on an honorary position, and she's taking on the librarian type position, which is a wonderful thing. And we're hoping that all works out. So I want to thank, and I sent out an email thanking everyone that really have helped me. And Mike, my husband, is the biggest helper for me, following things in. So I truly appreciate that, and just the fact that he's trying to be open and open-minded. He has a wonderful heart. So we're just chiseling a little bit more and more on his mind, and he's becoming more and more spiritual as he lives with Deb Davis. So anyway, and then Mike, the other Mike in my life. We cannot do this without Mike and Angie, his wonderful wife. And Angie's going to serve as vice president this year. And then other people have done some great things. Mary Thorne, she's always bringing little things, and so many of you participate in ways that I may not even realize. You are generous, and I appreciate that with the donations. And I'm so happy to let you know that we can now accept checks with the Space Coast IANDS name. I found a Space Coast Credit Union has a free checking program for nonprofits. So I was able to do that, and I wish I had known that 2 or 3 years ago. That would have been very helpful. But anyway, now I can accept checks. I think Mark has given me one, Sandra's given me one, and I've kind of just had to hand it back to you and that. But anyway, thank you. Thank you very, very much. All right, I want to move now quickly so we can hear as much from Teri as we can. But I want to tell you about next month, January 19th, will be our meeting with Esther Luttrell. She is a writer, author, and she wrote this book, Dear Dean, Love Mom. And she will send you a copy of it, just like Peggy offered last month. Peggy offered to send you a copy of her ebook, and Esther will do the same thing. So you don't have to go out and buy it. Right now, I'm reading Esther's second book, Between Heaven and Earth, and I'm finding it very interesting. It says, proof beyond doubt that life and love are eternal. And then I bought her other little book for my grandchildren about Santa. It explains Santa and the spirit of giving and love. So I did buy that too. That's on her website if you want to go and get that. Okay. I want to introduce Teri. Teri came last year, she and her husband, Kevin, and they stayed in my condo at that time. But we got to do some fun things together, go to the beach and have lunch. And I got to know her on a personal level, you know, just as a friend, just like I did Peggy. When I host these special people, they are special people to me. I feel like I've just sort of touched the hem of God or something, you know. It's just, they're so genuine. And it's just been such an honor and a privilege to get to know them on a personal level like I've done. And so Teri she's had one of the most probably exciting lives that I've ever known. And yet I feel like with headlines like this one, New Jersey drone sightings, grip hubbub, I have this feeling that more and more of us may be getting into that realm where we may be seeing some unusual things in our life. We're always expecting, and I do too, I expect certain things, people to look certain ways. But goodness, God, source, you know, they may look very different from what we're anticipating. But they may look just like us. I don't know. But I think Teri has such an interesting story. Let me read this one thing off of her Facebook that I love. If I can find it. Well, I cannot find it. But she was saying it's more important at this Christmas time, in this season, to care more about love and others than it is drones. And I thought, wow, that was perfect for this headline. So I really love that because she knows what's most important. And so I just want to welcome her and have her be able to share as much as she can. We'll stop about 4:30 or so you can get your snacks and take them with you. You're not leaving. Teri, thank you for being here. She is in Tennessee. I bet she wishes she was in warmer weather, but
yes,
maybe next year you can come and see us in the winter, and you'll be
absolutely.
We're so glad
we'll make plans.
I know you're talking from home, but you and Kevin also have some sort of podcast type program, something from Paris it's called. Tell us a little bit about that first.
What is what? I couldn't hear you.
Okay. I said you and Kevin are doing, you have a TV show or a radio show?
Right.
Called something.
Right. Kevin has 3 different shows that he does every week. Okay. One is called The Tennessee Informer, and we talk about all the different things that are going on in Tennessee in the political field so that we can all stay abreast of that and make sure that we're doing the most we can to keep our world normal and right. And then we also do Good Day Paris, which is, I'm the host of that, and I'm here in Paris, Tennessee. And so we talk about all the local issues, everything that's going on here. We try to highlight all the new businesses and introduce people to what's happening, where they can go shopping, what they can do. There's a lot to do in this tiny, tiny little city. It's really kind of unbelievable compared to what you all are experiencing, I'm sure, there in Florida. We can get out and drive on the interstate and there's not another car out there. Can you even imagine? Because I used to drive on I-4 every day. So, yeah. So, yeah, there's no bumper to bumper here. And
We'll have to come see you.
you
We'll
what?
have to see you. We'll have to come see you in Paris.
I know, you should come here. I have guest rooms. That would be wonderful. And you're always welcome.
Thanks.
But we also do a paranormal show, but we only do it a couple times a year through the seasons. And then we do the Mike Weatherford show, which is we cover everything. It's a guy locally here that everybody knows, and it's a very popular show. It has thousands upon thousands of hits every time we do it. Even more than My Good Day Paris. But I guess he's just better looking, whatever, right? So, but we love it, and it keeps Kevin very busy. And we travel. We were just at the planetarium last night doing a live show from the planetarium for that. But what I wanted to talk about at first here today was about the drones. I want to talk to everybody about that because I have been an experiencer since 1973, and I've had a very profound experience with the Lord. And so I'm a very staunch Christian. And yet I believe all that we're dealing with here in this life is about God. You know, there is a great power, and we can know him. And I have had a relationship very oddly with him all my life. Since I was maybe 3, I remember him talking to me, and I would talk right straight back, you know, and it was just conversations and many, many experiences over my lifetime that absolutely befuddled my parents. And back to the drones. These are not aliens, okay? I'm well versed in what happens in alien situations. I've been an experiencer 4 times very profoundly with aliens. And what is happening right now is I have kind of named it Roswell 2024, because back in let's see, when was that? 1967, I want to say. I think it was, no, 1947, Roswell happened. And our government knew all about it, and they confiscated everything, and they lied to all of us. And they told us we were seeing weather balloons and all of this. And our government hasn't grown up much since then. They have continued to follow the same patterns that they've always followed. And those of us who have had personal experiences with extraterrestrials, life-changing, let me tell you, life-changing, because you never completely wrap your whole head around the entire experience. And many times I look back on it with just shock and awe. Sometimes it's frightening, it's horrifying, it is illuminating, and yet when they're around, you know that you know. And my son and I have also had different experiences together, and when they're around, you are very aware of it once you've had the experience. And what we're seeing in New Jersey and all over, it is not. It's the best technology that today we have, and it's being sent out over all of these different cities in our United States. And strangely enough, orbs, we're seeing different types of propulsion units up there that have been created by men. So they're man-made, and yet they're superior because we have finally grasped how to do it and how to maneuver these things and how to manipulate and control them. And this has been spoken of by so many people, most who have passed. Colonel Clifford Stone, who I talked to many times, and he told me that our government does, in fact, have extraterrestrials, and they study them, and from crashed ships or ships that have landed. We do have a crash retrieval in our military. This is all eyes only, ears only kind of things. And the normal, regular people are never going to hear about this because it's not need to know for you. So we don't know. And only those who have had deathbed experiences, deathbed conversations with people because they don't want to die and leave this earth without telling the whole truth. They want to unburden their souls. They have said what they have seen. And I am on the board. I am the executive director for the International UFO Bureau. And we have many people that are associated with us whom are top secret, who are retired people with very high top secret clearances, and have as much as shared the truth with us, letting us know that this is a very odd truth, but it is true that we do have biologics, we do have extraterrestrials that we have harbored here, and some of them have passed, some of them have literally died, but we have answers that we've never had before. And some of you might be wondering, well, why did she ever leave MUFON if she was in MUFON? I was on the board of directors with MUFON for 12 years, and I was with them for 12 years. I'm sorry, 14, but I was on the board for 6. And I left MUFON because after, 55 years of studying things and even looking at all these different UFO reports, they still do not know what they're dealing with. And even though someone like myself or others who have had personal experiences and try to share truth, they're not there for that truth. So enough is enough already. I wanted to do something different that would help disclosure and let people know that these things are very real. I know that you're all with SCIANDS, you're a near-death experiencing group. And I have also had a near-death experience. That was back in 1973. So I have a kind of plethora of a background of different situations I've lived through and experienced. And these all are interconnected, actually. The more you have of one, the more you may have of another. And it depends on us. If our spirits are open to that type of growth and to understanding what is really happening in this world. And trust me when I tell you, what meets the eyes is not what's actually happening. What meets the spirit realm is what is actually happening. And it's so much greater and has so much to offer us here if we open ourselves to the whole truth. We don't hear things preached at churches a lot of times that we need for spiritual growth. We don't learn things in school that we would need for spiritual growth. And a lot of times we don't hear it at home because our parents didn't hear it. It's not their fault. They didn't know. And so, you're not responsible for what you don't know, right? So anyhow, I guess I don't want to, elongate that part of the conversation, but I want to put people at ease. What we're seeing is man-made, and we use holographs. We use all different kinds of things now to project And so you can see a completely holographic, I guess you would say almost like entity, which is not actually a reality. It's AI, it's technology that transcends our understanding. And so right now that is what you're seeing. And I do believe that eventually they will have to say what's going on. I don't think they're going to play the alien card and try to freak everybody out and say that they're aliens, but they truly aren't. So I watched many of these films, and I didn't get that hit and in my spirit. So until I do, and when I do, I will let everybody know. And if I do, I should say, I would let everybody know immediately. I would send something out, probably on Facebook or at the IUFOB. We're going to be revealing IUFOB sometime in 2025, probably January or February. So right now we don't have everything set up with our new website, which Kevin is creating. So that'll all be rolled out in 2025, and keep you abreast of all that too. But you had wanted me to share a screen and share one of the healings that I had, which is incredibly awesome. It blew me away having this healing, because I didn't believe anything could heal us but God. And I apologize if I've shared this before, but I'll go ahead and share my screen and bring this up. And I guess you'll see that then. I probably have to click it twice. Yeah, okay. Okay. And let's see. I will just click this. I believe Kevin said this is how you do it. So this was a supernatural healing that I had back in 2012. And I'll share this with you now. Let's see. Do I do it that way? Kevin said all I do is just share this. Okay, yeah. So what happened back then, that's actually me back then. I had so many different experiences. And like I shared with you, I've seen angels, I've had angelic, I've had spiritual experiences with God, I've had ethereal experiences, demonic experiences, and extraterrestrial, I'm sorry. And so each one of these kind of brought me to a place of understanding. And I found out in the early 2000s that my brother up in the left there, Philip, who has passed away, had seen extraterrestrials as well. And I didn't know that. In 1960, my mother in her little houseboat, that's her husband hanging off the end there, both of them had seen UFOs shooting out of the water, which we call USOs. And in St. Petersburg in 1979, that is the exact place in the lower left there that I had my first experience in 1979. And that's exactly what the craft looked like. And it had a blue light going around the center of it. It changed my life. I actually experienced a tall white and two grays. I didn't know that was a tall white at the time, didn't know those were grays at that time, but came to learn that later. But that's where that happened. And in St. Petersburg in 2012, I was on a date night with one of my sons, and we saw three lights that would end up morphing into what you see there. Triangle UFO with lights on it that went down into the water that right at that very place in Sawgrass Lake in St. Petersburg. So I've had pretty many experiences, and we've always said, what if things could, all of us could have these kinds of experiences, but we don't. And but they are, the ones of us that are having these experiences are getting a data dump of sorts. We do get information. I was told on that craft that day in 1979 that they would not harm me and they would not take me. And I was given information that I was told I would need. I also in 2012 had another experience with a reptilian, a very tall reptilian. I was taken to a catacomb, and he said the exact same thing that I would have experienced, that when I needed it, I would have knowledge, and when I needed it, I would have it for the experience that I would have. So this I knew to be true. I'm going to go past some of this because there's different, things that I don't want it to take as long as it could. Other people have had many of the same experiences that I have. Katharina Wilson had one, and I have had one in my own bedroom. You know, a lot of people have had them on ships or have had them in dreams and things like that. But I was wide awake when I had my experience, and it was quite frightening, very frightening, because I was in fact wide awake. And I had been told that I might, back in 2000, I was told that I might have to have an immediate surgery because they thought that I was going to develop cancer from different injuries and different things that had happened to me. I needed to have a subtotal colectomy, which is, some of you that might be nurses or doctors might know exactly what that is. They removed the large intestine and hooked me up to the small intestine, which was a miracle in and of itself. And it didn't go very well. And so I did have that surgery. And this is my personal healing experience from that. I was told that I wouldn't live, that I would be, I would basically die if I didn't have that. That's that very large intestine that goes around, your mid center there, right underneath your major organs and your kidneys and your spleen and all that good stuff there. That was taken out. And so now I don't have that any longer. It was an 8.5-hour surgery, and it was quite frightening. I had different experiences that happened before the surgery, and after the surgery, they were looking at different things back in 2000. Just before I had it, I did a lot of studying and to see what it entailed to remove this large intestine. And the doctor told me, you don't have time to think about this. It's totally diseased. It's going to go into cancer. You've got to get it out right now. So I did. I had interviewed 7 different surgeons and found the best one. And I went to Tampa General Hospital in in Tampa, Florida. It's just right across the bay from St. Petersburg. And that's where I had that surgery. And 8.5 hours later, I woke up and I was still in pain. After I had healed a few weeks, the pain was actually worse. And they had said that they had found a bleed. And so I needed to go in to have that same surgery a second time. So I did. And once I had that surgery, and I woke up from it afterwards, I could barely move. My stomach hurt so bad, and I was just in serious pain, and they told me there was nothing more that they could do for me. And so I decided not to take drugs because I didn't want to be one of the people that I had heard so many stories about that take drug medication for pain and then end up dependent. So I just put up with the pain and moved along with my life, which was very difficult, but I did it. And the longer I did it, the better it got. So by 2012, even though I could still feel the pain and it restricted me in many ways, it was more livable. It got more livable with every year. And so, like I said, I didn't want to go back and have a third surgery, which they said I could have. So I declined that. And I decided that I would just hang in there with the pain, prayed to get healed many times, but never didn't get healed. And so I just thought, okay, it is what it is, accept it. And one night in 2012, as I was laying in bed, I found that I heard my name called, and I woke up to find this very odd, very frightening hybrid being. I don't even know what to call him. He was reptilian, definitely. I've had different renditions, different people draw what I saw, and this is what the different people have. My husband did the upper left, and I paid a lot of money for the one on the upper right. But it's like I was trying to tell people what I saw, but nobody was able to really grasp what I was telling them. But it looked like a lizard, but it was somewhat humanish and somewhat, I don't even know. It was somewhere in between, ethereal. It was not anything that I had ever seen in my life, so I couldn't really describe it. But at any rate, as I was laying in the bed, he said to me, to be still. And I was looking at him, and it was quite frightening. He had these little hairs on the ends of all of his scales, and he was incredibly colorful. And this is not a good depiction of that coloration, but it's just something to give people an idea of what I was looking at. He had it red around his eyes that was very dark, and a little bit of black in that red. He was very strange looking, and he had big, huge jowls. They were just big. I tried to have those blown up in these pictures, but they really don't do much justice to it. And as I was looking at him, I noticed in his hand, which was more a claw that looked like a dog's claw, but more severe than that, something between a talon of a very large bird and a claw of a dog. He was holding this particular instrument, and I thought, oh my God, the thing is alive. It's moving. It was coiled exactly like a fern, but it was moving, just like what you see there in that lower right. Yet it looked more like a octopus's, you know, extremity. And I thought, boy, isn't that weird? It looks like an octopus's extremity, but it's doing what a fern would do in nature, something biological. It's definitely alive and moving in and of itself. And this is what he used on me. And he simply said to me, be still. And this thing moved. And as you can see, how something like this would look moving and natural. So you can see how that octopus there on the lower right is kind of curling but moving. This is what this thing was doing. And I'm telling you, it was beyond creepy, way beyond creepy. And yet it had little suction tips, but it was incredibly thin. So it was similar to this, but not similar, if you know what I mean. And when he said, be still, the one end had a little device on the end of it, and it attached to the outside of me, and the coiled portion went inside of me, and this went vaginally. So obviously the bleed was internal, not from the colon, but something had been clipped in the surgery, and I had something bleeding internally. And all of a sudden this thing went in, and it just went, it wrapped around me very fast in the very area on my right side that was so very sore for all these years, for 12 years. And then it started like a very light pulsing, and I felt it getting tighter and tighter. It was warm, then it was feeling almost hot. And I was feeling a very odd vibration from this thing. Remember, this thing was alive. It was moving, and so now it had wrapped itself around this area that had been a pain and a huge issue for me for 12 years. And it was getting warmer and warmer and tighter and tighter. And I laid there thinking, my God, I'm going to end up literally exploding. And I thought, oh my God, oh my God. And I closed my eyes, and I thought to myself, I'm dying. This thing is going to kill me. There's going to be a bloodbath everywhere. And the fear was pretty off the charts, I guess you could say. And I was just getting ready to scream bloody murder, and it's it stopped. Something stopped. I didn't feel the pressure anymore. The heat was still there, the vibration was still there, but there wasn't any more pressure. The pressure relieved. And so I opened my eyes and he was gone. And I thought, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to have to tell my friends about this. I'm going to have to call these two people that I know that are in ufology, and they're aware of very strange, anomalous things that can happen to us. They both live in Florida, as I lived in Florida at the time. And so I thought I'll reach out to these two and I'll share with them and tell them what happened. But the odd thing was I couldn't get up. I laid there. Now, my husband was in bed with me, and he got up, he took a shower, he ate his breakfast. I heard him get his keys to go off to work. I heard him start the engine in his truck, and then he took off, and I still laid there. And I'm saying this must have happened somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't get up till somewhere around 8 or 9. I just laid there. It's almost as if that vibration that I was still feeling had some kind of an anesthetic in my body that was enabling me to just get up. And I could feel that vibration. I could still feel the warmth, but it was evading. I was losing that warmth that I was feeling. And I just laid there listening to my body being totally in shock. And when I finally did get up, I did call Kathleen Martin and I did call Denise Stoner, and they both spoke to me and said, wow, we've got to, get some information about this. We've got to have a meeting. We've got to talk about this. We've got to find out what has happened. Kathleen said that other people that she had listened to in the past had shared that they had also had a very similar kind of thing. They had healings, but they were different. They weren't like mine exactly. They were different. And Denise also said there were many people that had reported those kinds of things over the years to her. And so she was well aware of all of that. And she said to me, have you taken a swab yet? And I said, no. And she said, well, Teri, go get a swab, take a swab and put it in a plastic bag, throw it in your freezer. Let's keep it until we can find a lab that we can work with that could do the DNA structure on this particular swab, see if anything was left behind. And I said, okay. So I did. I got one swab because she said, get a swab. And I was still in shock. So I did exactly what she said. I wish she would have said, get several swabs. Now I'm kind of sad about that. Because when you only have one, you use it once and it's no longer any good. But anyway, I sent away to get information about, how to do it, and she said, make it as sterile as it can be, make sure that everything you do is completely sterile, and take care. Well, I have a radiography degree, so I knew about sterilization techniques, and I did everything to the book. I wore a mask. I had laid out a sterile package so that I could put everything on there and not touch that swab. I used tweezers and put it in my little Ziploc bag and sealed it and threw it in the fridge. And then it was about let's see, 2000. I'm trying to remember the exact year it was. It was about 7 years later. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, who was a state director with me, I was also a state director for Florida. She had said, hey, do you still have that swab? Because there's a lab in Missouri that might be able to take a look at it. And I said, okay. So I sent it to the lab, and this is actually the picture of Debbie. And then this is the picture of Lynn Mann, the chief laboratory analysis. And this is the kit that I used to send it to her. That's the actual kit. And I gave her a vial of my saliva. And then I put the swab in the container she sent me. And then I sent it off to her for an evaluation. And she called me back within just a couple of weeks and said, "Oh my goodness, are you sitting down?" And I said, "Yes, I'm sitting down." And she said, "Teri, this has serious red blood cell activity on it." She goes, "This is really amazing." And I didn't understand that because I don't know anything about the lab. I know about x-rays and developing and that kind of thing and reading, but I don't know too much about the blood with, DNA analysis and that kind of thing. But she said it was very promising. And then she said to me, "This is something I'd like to do. I'd like to continue to look at this." And she had asked me, "So I heard that you don't have any pain any longer." And I said, "No, actually what happened was that night that all this happened in 2012, I had gotten up, and as I was talking to Kathy and Denise, I found out that I was not in pain any longer. I'd actually been healed." And so she was asking me, "Since your surgery, have you had any other kinds of pains since this happened?" And I said, "No, not at all." I said, I'm doing well. I have no pain at all in that area that I used to have." So she called me back a couple of weeks later. And again, she said, "Oh my goodness, Teri, there is so much I'm finding out from the swab. Would you allow me to do further analysis on it?" And I said, yes. She cut it into 3 pieces so we would have 3 chances of looking all this up. She had contacted some other fellows and had wanted them to take a look at it. Everybody was highly intrigued. And so after she had called me, she said, "I have found that what is on your swab is directly related to the tegu lizard." And she said, "There is a DNA match." And she said, "Also with pond water, there's pond water on your sample, and there's tegu lizard. And I want you to take a look at this tegu lizard, different colored. He comes in many colors. He has those big jaws, and he has the coloring around his eyes." And I was absolutely shocked. I thought, "You've got to be kidding me." And she went through this whole process of the swab cells before processing and what she found, the different bacteria, which was the pond water. And these are pictures of her actually working on what it was that I had done. I'm going through this really quick, so I'm not giving 100% of this story, but I'm trying to give you, in essence, just about what it was all about. And you can see right there, that was Monday, 11/18/2019. This is Kathy Martin from Lynn Mann. And my research has turned up a warm-blooded South American lizard species that has several genes like humans. And not only is it the only warm-blooded reptile they know of, it can control its body temperature. I have worked out an experiment to test this lizard DNA against the rest of the swab DNA, but I need your permission to use the last of it. I have also found a herpetologist that will collect samples and send them to you, or send them. If this comes up a match to the lizard, not only will it find your healer or who your healer was as you saw him, but possibly that reptilians come from Earth or a planet very much like it. Think it over and get back to me as soon as you can." And that was sent from Lynn's iPhone. And this is Lynn here. And she was very serious about all of this. And she was working with, like I said, some of the other fellows within the lab. And so I sent it back to her and I told her, yes, I will do this. And the reason that Kathy was on there, I copied this and sent it to Kathy from the phone so that she would see exactly what I was doing and she could stay abreast with me. And this is actually the swab DNA, the saliva DNA, and the DNA ladder position, and the e-gel electrophoresis results of my swab. And this is the UV light on it as a Quick Gene Mini 80 that they were able to find the differences in those swabs. And here, this is an assembly of all the different types that she tested it on. She tested it on chicken, alligator, gecko, vipers, snakes, boa constrictors, pythons, and some of those numbers that you see as you go up from the bottom, it had some Japanese gecko, it had some pit viper, it had some boa constrictor, some Burmese python associations, some Asian glass lizard, some green anole lizard, but the tegu lizard, the very top, look at what that showed, and that was from my swab. So this is a hybrid, definitely. And at the time, this was amazing news to get, because this shows all these different FastCons conservation scores from the reptile-specific CNEs. So then she showed the human match, and then she showed my tegu match. And again, this is the same thing. I can't even really read all of those things up there any longer, but this is the gel of the tegu and the human comparison together, and this matched on my DNA. So this is the tegu salvatore lizard, and it's a possible distant evolutionary of the human reptilian. And see the different colors it comes in. And some of the reds are even more red. So the fact that what I saw was a multicolored with the huge jowls is just amazing. To me, it was shocking to look at this. And this is what Lynn said was the electron microscopy technician or biological chief analyst result of what she had done. And so the conclusion at that she wrote to me was, at the beginning of the testing of the trace material for the DNA in this laboratory for MUFON of Missouri, the intention was to test for DNA present and file a report with the witness and the headquarters of MUFON as per usual. Having found the witness's DNA on the sample swab and lacking access to any alien DNA, should it even exist, I, for the first time, began to research what reptilian present on this planet might be close to having any part of its genome similar to humanoid. What I found was the giant tegu salvatore Marianae lizard. The resulting match to the human and lizard DNA on the trace swab was a wonderful revelation to the analyst and the witness, being me. Never before, to our knowledge, has a trace sample matched a set of witness accounts as well as this does. Even with the apparent lesser signal seen on the lizard gel, the potential for this study to be repeated with success on further samples of this type is high. It is for this reason the witness and study partners involved feel that this result should be published. And it was. She published it. And I created a very small book called just Teri Lynge-Kehl, Alien Healing, the True Story of a Benevolent Extraterrestrial, because he didn't hurt me, harm me. He freaked me out and scared me to death. But other than that, I was healed by that rendition there of the surgical instrument that he held, which was a biological instrument. And so, you know, what I had found out now, many years later, Novartis researchers were inspired by these wild survival artists. They are developing a treatment that has the potential to regrow cartilage in the knees of patients with osteoarthritis. Though not quite equivalent to the regenerative powers of wildlife, it's an ambitious attempt to regenerate tissue. The approach is part of a wider effort at Novartis to find a way to treat osteoarthritis. Now, this came out in 2021. I was healed in 2012. And what did I tell them? I saw the tentacle of an octopus. Look at that tentacle in the center there, wrapped up, just like I said in 2012. And this didn't come out till 2021. And I thought that was amazing.
Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligence experts?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the pilots to pilot this craft?
As I've stated publicly, learning my information review of biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Human or
Non-human, that was the assessment of people, technology, what am I talking about?
then was this documented evidence, video, photos, eyewitness, like how would that be determined?
The specific documentation. Okay, do we have photos? Do we have statements? Actually, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead bodies. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
So what happened there was we heard from the News Nation, and this was on every major, CNN, MSNBC, it was on everything. It was on ABC, NBC, you name it. And this Air Force veteran said, we're definitely not alone. And he was somebody that was showing us that these biologics are true. They're real. They're here. And Grush came out. He was the first one, and we've had many other different conventions and different platforms where people have come out to speak up that these things are real. We know that they have them. We know what's going on. We have bioengineered all the different crafts that they've given us, and we can actually control and manipulate those crafts. I'm sure that the extraterrestrials have given us the information to do that. But like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I'll have my alien healing book back up and running in 2025, February. I've taken it down from Amazon right now because I'm updating it with new information. And this is what happened to me in 2012. That's been quite a few years ago. 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago now. But I just want to thank you all for being here and listening to this particular experience. And I'm really well pleased about it because I know that this is something that, we can all discuss. If you've got questions you want to ask me, you can about it. I don't know how much time I have left.
So we have about 30 minutes.
Okay, if anybody wants to ask any questions, then they can.
Yes, we have some people that want to ask, and I'm going to ask them if they would come up here, if you don't mind. Don't
No.
put your hand down. They're going to come up here because then you can see them.
Yeah,
And
it's a little hard for me to hear. You're a little bit muffled, but that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, love it.
That's Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks.
This is a topic that I have looked into quite a bit, and I haven't had experiences, but I've just, drawn from so many different sources, super soldiers and all sorts of people about their experiences. And,
Yeah.
one thing that's really interesting to me is that everyone I've ever heard who's had experiences, they're different. Like,
Yeah.
similarities, but they seem to be unique to each person. But one thing that I've heard a number of times is that anytime a triangular craft is seen, that is ours, that is not ET. And it's like a reverse engineered kind of a thing, and they can be stealth and,
they can project clouds on the underside so you can't see them, but they deliberately show themselves at times. So you mentioned a triangular craft, and I just, because I heard something different, I wanted to bring that up. And then the other thing is, I have read the book, Alien Interview, which is about the living extraterrestrial that survived the Roswell crash, and I found it to be a really interesting book, which, if others aren't aware of it, supposedly this being was rescued, a gray alien, and it was taken immediately into a government type security situation and surrounded by generals and military, and it would not speak or reveal anything. And so they threatened it and everything, and finally they decided to try introducing a female into the room. And it was a military nurse, and she sat with this being, and all communication was telepathic. And she was debriefed at the end of each session, and this information was considered classified. But she compiled the information and put it together, and then moved to Ireland and released it later before her death to a certain author. And I just found it to be really interesting because it really expanded my concept of how civilizations, like planets, can be populated, that there's beings that are given the ability to it's like science experiments, like put together different species to see how they work together in different environments or planets or whatever. I just, so my question is, are you familiar with that testimonial? And because you mentioned Roswell, I think as if
I missed what you said. Am I familiar with what?
With that book called Alien Interview.
Alien Interview?
Yeah.
Gosh, I've heard hundreds and hundreds. And I'm not sure I would know which one you're talking about.
It's a classic. It is supposedly the testimony of the surviving gray from the Roswell crash.
Oh, okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of different books and even papers, white papers called Alien Interview. There's so many of them. I just wasn't sure what you were talking about. I'm not able to hear you real well. It's real muffled for some reason. I'm trying to hang on to every little word.
Okay. Well,
I did get your first, you were asking about the triangle crafts and the fact that you had heard that they were man-made, or, that they were ours. That is not true. The craft that I saw with my son in 2012 was first, we were on, we were coming from Tampa on a date night. We were at Maggiano's, and we left there, and then we went to see a movie. And once we left the movie, we were going back to St. Petersburg, and we were on the Howard Franklin Bridge. And as we were going over the bridge, which is a pretty long bridge, it's like a 2 or 3 mile bridge, you could see nothing but water. MacDill Air Force Base was over to the left of us as we were heading out to St. Petersburg. And I saw 3 lights in the sky, and I said to my son, "Hey, humor me, keep an eye on those lights. I'm starting to feel that this is not 3 lights," because something happens with those of us who have had connection, and we can actually feel something going on in the vibrational patterns around us. And Josh looked at it, and he said, "Yeah, sure, Mom, I bet it's a UFO." And I said, "Just humor me, just keep an eye on those." And all of a sudden, they started moving in very strange ways. And one was huge, one was small, and then one was like medium, but they were in the wrong places to be any type of aircraft or anything. So these lights had hovered over MacDill Air Force Base, which is also Central Command in the United States of America. So they were checking something out there over the water, and they stopped. And here we are going over this bridge, and Josh is screaming at the top of his lungs as I'm driving 65 miles an hour over the bridge. Mom, they stopped. They stopped. They just stopped. And I said, yeah, okay. I said, yes, honey, these are real. This is an alien craft. It is being managed by extraterrestrial life forms. I don't know what kind yet, but just keep watching. I'm trying to feel into this. And it's some type of consciousness we share with them once we've had these different evaluations and examinations with them. And so as we were going over into the St. Pete side, this thing crossed then. It had stopped, hovered, and then crossed all the way over and was hovered over Sawgrass Lake in St. Petersburg. And at that point, both of us at the same time, looking at these lights, they turned a little bit to the right, and the next thing I know, they morphed right in front of us, which shocked me. I'd never seen anything like that. And my son was freaking out. Now, my son at the time was about 39 years old. He wasn't a baby or anything. And so he was just losing it, screaming, oh my God, oh my God. And he puts the window down as I'm doing 65 miles per hour. I'm thinking everybody's going to all of a sudden, stop or screeching tires any minute. But very much like the extraterrestrial community, they will reveal to whom they will reveal to. They don't reveal to everybody. You can have 10 people in a field and 5 will see it, 5 won't. And so when it did finally turn into this triangle, all these lights were around it, and then it went down with over the tree line, which never even ruffled not one leaf on the tree. It didn't sway the trees, nothing. You couldn't hear it. You couldn't see anything moving. It just went right straight down. So that acted very peculiar. And that's otherworldly, because anything that man creates would have caused all kinds of, the bushes and the trees would have been waving like crazy. And none of that happened. Now, like I said, I was on the board of MUFON for many years, and Lou Elizondo, who is a good friend, came to one of the meetings, and he sat down with me, and I told him at dinner what I had seen. And he validated for me right there in front of everybody, oh yes, Teri, that particular craft is unique. It can morph. We do have morphing craft. And that's something that even our government is now trying to do. They're trying to make this technology that they've gleaned from extraterrestrial interactions so that we now have cloaking. And it is a fact. We now can cloak, but that was 2012. This is 2024. So 2025, my gosh, we only have a couple of weeks here. And, so anyway, don't think that every craft you see that is a triangle is ours. They are not all ours, but many of them are ours. And you need to know which ones are which. And the only way you would really know is if they revealed that to you. These are higher beings. These are from a different dimension. These guys are different than us. I can't say they're smarter than us. Their technology is more keen than ours, but we're catching up because we've had these beings, and we can now do a lot of what they have shared with us. That's why we're where we're at. That's why these drones are happening. Now, in reference to answering your question about the Roswell incident, can you give me a brief description again of what you wanted me to share on? Because it was so broken up. I didn't understand everything about what you were saying.
Okay. Can you hear me better if I speak this way?
Yeah, if you get a little closer, it seems to be better. Yeah.
Seems like this is the microphone.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So the transcript of the communication with the military nurse is what makes up the PDF or the book called Alien Interview. And I just found it very interesting, the information that this being was giving to this nurse
Mhm.
about where it came from and that it could leave its body whenever it wanted. It didn't need food or water or sleep or anything, and then it expired or died or whatever. In other words, it went back to where it came from, but it had come to give us this incredible information. It's a really fascinating
Yeah.
document. And I don't know if it's true or not, but one other thing I wanted to say is I've listened to all of the talks of John Lear. You probably know who he is, the pilot,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Regarding the
Mhm.
first thing that you talked about, which was the technology for creating holograms and such, they can create complete 3D
Right.
holograms, big as you want, with sound.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
he was talking about driving up the west coast of California, I think in the 70s. I forget, is that A1 or A whatever that roadway is along the coast? And all of a sudden, in thin air, a huge 747 manifested, like, very, very, just right above the water, like impossible. Out of thin air, suddenly there's a 747, like at eye level with him. He's on a cliff or something. And he's a pilot, so he knows how to identify an aircraft, and then it just vanished. And so
Yeah.
that was back in the 70s. So
Right.
they've really advanced this technology. And in fact, just today, before I came here, I was reading something about how there's all this talk of Project Bluebeam to try to
Right.
scare us with this big scare event. But really,
Mhm.
the way that it looks like what they're doing now is all these, like you said, separate events in different locations in the world, to make it look like there's some sort of um, infest
Happening. Yeah.
infestation, I'm going to call it, invasion,
Yeah.
and to scare us, and then the government is going to save us, sort of thing, right? Instead of one major thing, they're doing it in separate ways, is what I heard today as a theory. So
Yeah. Well, I do believe that everything in that testimony from the Roswell era, is all right. I do believe that that woman was telling the truth. Some of the things that I have heard are absolutely mind-boggling. And I've heard them from the people that experienced them many years ago. Many of my friends who have all shared this have passed away. As a matter of fact, we just lost Bob Luca today, who was married to Betty Andreasen, who had a daughter, Becky Andreasen, who was from the book The Andreasen Affair, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Very much like my experiences, Becky and I talked on the phone many times, but we're losing a lot of the people that have had some of these older experiences now. Everybody's in their 80s. I'm 72, for heaven's sakes, I'm hoping I stay here long enough to be able to hang in there and share the truth, pass the baton on to as many as I can, but we do have a lot of technology. However, there is still technology that we do not have. Now, we can do cloaking, and we can do the orbs, we can do the holograms, we can do all kinds of things, and effortlessly, and make them look really compelling. I mean, one of my other things that I am into has been, ghost hunting, and I'm a paranormal investigator. And so what they can do today with technology, AI, you don't know if you're looking at a real ghost or not. However, being the fact that I've been a demonologist since 1975, I can tell you if something is really demonic and it's in my presence. I am sure. I worked with some psychics a long time ago. I no longer do, but they would always say, Teri, don't go into the house until we go in, because once you go in, they feel your power and they run from you. And I said, you better believe they do, because I'm not here to play with them and ask them questions. I'm here to pass them on or cast them back, to the pit where they came from.
Yeah.
And so I have a very different energy about it. I don't have any fear of them at all. And that's because I have such a great big God. They're this big to me. It depends. It's all about how you train and teach yourself and what you know. And, different understanding have come to me. So, anyway, yeah, let's not get too much into that. I don't know how much time I have to answer. If anybody else had a question.
I have a million more questions, but I don't want to hog it, so I'll turn it over to whoever's next. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you can always go to my what is that called? Email and ask questions.
Thank you. I wanted to say this while my husband was here, but he's going to pack up things. But I just I know some of you very personally, one-on-one, and I know some of your beliefs. And although this isn't a religious organization, I just want to say that
Right.
recently I watched the movie Mary, and I know it's a movie, but I watched the movie Mary, and it brought me to this season in my life where we're celebrating, some of us are celebrating the Savior, and how Mary was divinely impregnated, incarnate with Jesus. And I think back to all those millions, not millions maybe, but thousands of people that didn't believe it, did not believe her, did not believe at all that she could be divinely pregnant. And Joseph had to believe, or at least he knew it wasn't him. So but he had to accept that. And so I just want you to leave today, because this is a lot. And I do believe people like Teri have been divinely appointed to experience these. I really, truly do. I think the near-death experiencers that have come to us, they come back and they're divinely transformed. Divinely transformed. So I do believe that God is awesome enough to intervene with someone like Teri. Why not? He did with Mary, right? So I just want to leave you with that kind of hope. And of course, I think Teri would agree, we don't want to be fearful. And she believes this alien that healed her was benevolent. And she truly does. I do believe that. And look at her. She's been healed now for years. So, Teri, thank you so much. I want to say thank you for being brave, and your presentation was so well laid out. I know you've worked on it for years, and a lot of what you've learned has been processed through the years, and you're still probably putting a lot of it together. But sharing all that with us is so valuable. I wish there were some younger people in here that could also hear that. Okay, Helma has another comment. Yeah. Helma's asking, have you had contact with the being that miraculously healed you?
Have I had contact with the being since that happened?
Yes.
Okay. I have had a couple different experiences where I felt that he was speaking to me. Now, I know that that is really strange, but they were more dreamlike states, and yet they were very real. And I felt that in 2025, there will be a lot of changes. There's a huge shift going on right now. It's a spiritual shift. It's a consciousness shift. There is so much going on in the cosmos right now. Even numerology will show us that. Everything is talking about it. And I feel that there will be in this year, 2025 coming up, more contact for more people about extraterrestrial involvement. Some of the hybridization is not all human related as well as extraterrestrial related, but they have also enveloped the dark, I want to call it the dark realm. So some of these extraterrestrials are coming from, the three places, from a dark realm, from a extraterrestrial realm, and from a human realm. So it's going to get very interesting, and it could actually get a little dark. But, we know not to fear. We're just to trust, I trust God. I would encourage anybody to look into all of that, and you're right, it's not a spiritual meeting here, but it's all interconnected. It is all connected. And the more we allow ourselves to be open to it, the more we will glean understanding about what's happening, because so much is happening.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware. Yeah. Thank you all for,
Well, thank
being
you, Teri,
here.
and
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. Yes, you too. Hope to see you all again.
This is who you've been talking to. Let's see.
Oh, hello.
She's
Hello.
on, and Nancy's on, and there's Mike back there. Wave, Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike. Very nice. So glad you all were able to come. I'm just here in the living room of my
Yeah.
very old house.
Well,
It was a haunted house, and that's why we bought it.
Yeah, they don't want to stick around there with you there. Listen, thank you, and tell Kevin, Merry Christmas, and thank you again for being with us. We appreciate it.
I
And thank
sure thank
all of
you.
you online and all of you out here for coming today. Please take some snacks with you, okay? Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you all.